Thank you, Diya Madam, for the nice introduction. I'm happy to get involved with LLB and other associations in this. And now, anyhow, we are overshoot of the time. I will reduce my presentation so that we'll be out for the lunch sooner. So, the topic that I'm interested in is multi-epitope prediction for vaccine design against novel coronavirus 2. Our Department of Biotechnology is NB accredited, National Board of Accreditation, and again DST FIST support we are having, and our university is NAC A grade accredited, and also we are having NIF National Institutional ranking frame within 100 we are having. Now, so the main the risk that we are facing in either in India or in abroad is because of the crowding. Avoid crowding, keep ourselves aloof from the people, and safely live in our own environment. So there is no problem with the government, there is no problem with anyone, there is only problem with our attitude, with our mood. If our attitude is good, good means we are living for the sake of others. We should not cause others discomfort. So how do you cause discomfort to others is by going in the crowd. So avoid crowd so that everyone, all living beings live happily. Okay, that is the main thing. Crowding is a risk. So now let us come to the topic. That is only the advice that I have given in the previous slide. That is not the recent one. So the most of the viruses have taken their origin in the East Asia and also in Africa. Let us not waste our time on this. Now, what is the content of my presentation? Coronavirus evolutionary divergence. I'm going to explain. And immunoinformatic tools, and again sequence-based identification epitopes, structure-based identification of epitopes. So these are the 4 topics which I am covering. Earlier I gave webinar in LLB school that a few of these topics also I covered in the earlier webinar. Ultimately conclusion. So coronavirus evolutionary divergence. Hitherto we had the talks on the epidemiology, therapeutics, and again the drug design by Professor Mukesh Duble, and again Dr. Yasuf Lazara. Okay. And now we are doing something evolutionary divergence. See, now not only the evolutionary divergence within the Coronaviridae family members, within this coronavirus, a novel coronavirus, there is divergence. So that's what here, global initiative for sharing all influenza database. So this is what a public-private partnership in Germany, that is involved in working with this coronavirus. Nearly 40,000 samples they have collected, and for them they have done this genome analysis, and ultimately they identified the S clade, V clade, G clade, L clade, GR clade, GH clade. Like this, the coronavirus is not one, it is having several clades, several groups. So the details we'll see now. So nearly 40,000 full genomes as of 12th June have been isolated. Every day they are doing this type of the genome analysis, and S clade is having this many number, L clade, V clade, G clade, GR clade, and GH clade and other clades. India is represented with S clade and G clade and GR clade and GH clade. Okay, so this is what a few of the participants are asking questions. If you are getting infected with S clade, again we may get infected with L clade. There will be some, what is it called, vulnerability within us. So now, evolutionary divergence between genome sequences of coronaviruses. See, I have gone through the NCBI database, and from there we collected the genome sequences of these 11 coronaviruses, which are there in the vertebrate host, particularly in the mammalian host and the avian host. That is, mammalian host rat is having corona. That's what I wish to let you know is coronavirus is not new to the biological system. So we are now worrying, but because it is infecting man. Earlier it infected rat, earlier it infected cat, earlier it infected the dogs, camel, swine, and several the tiger. Several of the specimens are getting infected with coronavirus. Okay, so that's what, let us see how the evolutionary divergence, whether this coronavirus among them is same, or is there an evolutionary divergence? For which purpose I collected 11 genome sequences. Each of these genome sequences are nearly 28 to 30,000 range, so many nucleotides, and they have been subjected to MEGA, that is a software molecular evolutionary genetic analysis version 10. So in this, once you go for this evolutionary divergence analysis, base substitution per site, each value is base substitution, that is nucleotide base substitution per site, that is around 25,000, 28,000 nucleotides. Okay, now let us see. Let us explain this particular diagram. So now if you go to the novel coronavirus and SARS coronavirus, the divergence is least 5.94. That's what our earlier speakers were also telling. The SARS and NCOV2 is close. So whenever you compare to the avian coronavirus is quite far with regard to the others because it is 17.8, 16.8 like this. If you take up the dog coronavirus and the tiger coronavirus, there is what is it called, substitution, base substitution per site is 8.45 value. But between the rat and fenin, that is cat, between the rat and cat coronavirus, it is 8.80. So out of all this, what is that we are going to confirm the previous speakers of Mukesh Duble and our Professor Yosef is the coronavirus, novel coronavirus and SARS coronavirus is close in association because the base substitutions are also very less, 5.94. Now, the same 11 species I have selected, and with that I have also conducted a phylogram through MEGA, that is molecular evolutionary graphic genome analysis, genetic analysis 10th version. The evolution analysis of coronaviruses using minimum evolution method. There is a neighbor joining method, there is maximum likelihood method. This is, I adopted this time minimum evolution method. That is minimum number of substitutions causing evolution. Minimum number of substitutions causing evolution. This is very interesting graph. That's what I have kept in the color. That is, if you see this is a phylogram. Phylogram, dendrogram, the difference is in the phylogram, the branch length are shown. In the dendrogram, the branch length are not shown. Branch length means the recency of its origin. Now let us, for example, I will let you know about the branch length. If you take these values, out of all these values, this 2.85 is the least. Next highest is the 3.09. That means our novel coronavirus values are least. That means they are recent in the origin. Even the SARS-CoV, which appeared in the year 2002, its value came, branch length value has come 3.09. So that's what this phylogram, by submitting the nucleotide sequence, it is giving us the value which intimates us that these specimens are recent in their appearance. Okay. Now let us see the graph. Very interesting that this is said to be a primary cluster. Okay. So this is said to be an offshoot of this primary cluster. This is again a primary cluster, this is an offshoot of this primary cluster. These two primary clusters with the offshoots causes a clade. This causes a clade. Okay. So the primary cluster here, if you take up into consideration the coronavirus, the parasitizing the rat, coronavirus parasitizing in the cat, both of them have taken sister taxa. So that's what again you see this, the coronavirus that is there in the dog, the coronavirus that is parasitized in the tiger, again they have taken a sister taxa. So these two sister taxa constituted a tertiary taxa, tertiary cluster. So that is what's most interesting. Just by having the nucleotide sequence, by comparing through this MEGA 10 software through minimum evolutionary method, we got this type of the pairing. And again, next if you take up into consideration swine, pig COV, that is COV that is parasitized in pig, and COV that is parasitized in cow, bovine. So these two also constitute one sister taxa, a group of one sister taxa called the primary cluster. The last one, most interesting thing is the human coronavirus, novel coronavirus, human coronavirus, and SARS coronavirus, which appeared in 2002. Again, these two constituted one sister taxa. That's what this particular minimum evolutionary method has indicated us, that the coronaviruses are adapted to their respective host, and that's what they're establishing in their host, and that's the main indication. Here again, this is what the bootstrap consensus tree that indicates these values. And this is most interesting evolutionary analysis and evolutionary divergence. Next is the immunoinformatics tools. So these are all the several immunoinformatic tools. A few of them I work, a few of them Dr. Abraham and Dr. M. K. Sulu have worked. I was working with immunoepitope database analysis tool. This iterative, the thread assembly, the epitope prediction tool, and protein structure and functional predictions we can do. And this is JCAT, that is our that is vaccine construct we have to convert into the cDNA, and the cDNA we have to put in the SNAP gene. That is, SNAP gene is having the resources for several of what is this called, the plasmids like PUC18, PUC19, P83 and all those things. Apart from this, the CIMSIM, this is wonderful, awesome software, particularly for simulating all immunological systems, particularly the cytokine storm, or even the T cell response, B cell response, HLA acceptability and compatibility and all those things. So these are all the various tools with which I made a mention earlier, but particularly one thing which I wish to let you know is ToxinPred. What we are seeing, the ToxinPred, and this is what our Professor Mukesh Duble was speaking. It's not the only the drug identification, the drug efficacy, the drug activity, the drug toxicity has to be evaluated. All those things can be evaluated through this. Okay, next slide will go. Next slide, madam. So the sequence, so with regard to the multiple epitopes based vaccine, we have to do, there are two approaches. One is the sequence based approaches. The other one is the structure based approaches. We'll see a few slides on the sequence based approach. Next slide, madam. So the aim of our study here is to predict peptides from S protein. We have taken only the S protein here, that is spike protein. As our Professor Mukesh Duble was telling, there are several targets. He listed more than five to six targets, but for the time being, we restrict to the S protein. Next time, we seek the help of Mukesh Duble and Professor Ayush for the further development in our group. So to predict peptides from S protein of NCOV2 to bind with a high affinity HLA. Here HLA is most important because whenever any antigen is, that vaccine means vaccine is nothing but an antigen. Antigen is given means antigen has to bind to the HLA, and HLA of our region, HLA of your region is different. So that HLA epitope binding has to be evaluated, particularly whenever we design the vaccine. Next slide, madam. So here hypothesis testing is null hypothesis. Predicted peptides from spike protein novel coronavirus 2 will not show in silico binding with high affinity to HLA class 1, class 2, T and B cells so as not to design vaccine. Alternative hypothesis is predicted peptides from spike protein of novel coronavirus 2 will in silico binding with high affinity to HLA class 1 and 2 T and B cells so as to design vaccine. So class 1, HLA class 1, HLA class 2 is emphasized here. So why it is so? Is it not common among human beings? No. As many stars in the sky, so much of HLA diversity in human beings. Next slide, madam. So this is the concepts in immunology with which I may not go in detail. Based on these concepts only, now the immunoinformatic tools are developed. Immunoinformatic tools are developed by the computational biologists. Computational biologists, not knowing this immune concepts, they do not develop. So because of the lack of the time, I may not be in a position to explain this. Next slide, madam. So here the sequence-based approach and structure-based approach. Next, madam. So the workflow here is the selection of the immunogenic surface proteins. We have taken only this spike protein, and once we have taken the spike protein and submitted to this epitope, that's the software tools, it has given 64,000 hits of epitopes. So 64,000 hits of epitopes, highly confusing. So there is a filtering mechanism. We have done the filtering, and that is one step. The second step is screening of HLA haplotypes of the population. So particularly South Indian population, there is a literature that is available. What is the HLA composition of the South Indian population that we have taken into consideration. And again, because the South Indian population are all derived from the Dravidian population, that's what they have got a common HLA, what is that called, the haplotypes, HLA haplotypes. Then optimization of the complexes of each peptide with MSC class 1, MSC class 2. Then optimization of complexes with T cell receptors and B cell receptors. Next slide, ma'am. So now let us see a few about the sequence-based approach for the designing of the vaccine. Next slide, madam. So here the spike proteins we have taken from 6 representatives. Here the novel coronavirus, and again SARS coronavirus, and again bat coronavirus, and MERS coronavirus, because we're all familiar, earlier talks were there on all these things, and alpha coronaviruses. Okay, once we have taken all these coronaviruses, spike protein is having approximately around 1200 nucleotides, and of which the this S2 domain is having this many around amino acids, and we are focusing much on the S1 domain. S1 domain, that's what our earlier professors were also telling. S protein, the spike protein is having S1 as head, S2 as the tail, and the S1 domain as the head because it is having receptor binding domain. This is what the receptor binding domain. This receptor binding domain, a few of them, even our professor US also has shown ACE2 receptors of human beings, particularly in alveolar epithelial cells, they will bind. This is what the anchoring site. Next slide, madam. So now the percent identity of this receptor binding domain. So if you go through this receptor binding percent identity, this is what our novel coronavirus. This novel coronavirus is close percent identity wise 76% identity with the SARS. And here it is 27 to 27% identity with another number one is called this alpha coronaviruses. That's what is more close with regard to the percent identity with that of the SARS. Next slide, madam. The other one is the bat. So like this, whenever we submitted to this immune epitope database, IEDB, so like this, we get what is it called? The epitopes, the lengths like that is given, the ranks are like that is given. Like this, we got 64,000 hits. Next slide, madam. Next slide, madam. Okay, so all the six like this. This is the second repeat of the same thing, and here. From there, we have taken the filter. The filter is around, we have taken the 100th rank, and we also have taken the 8 and 9 peptide lengths were deleted. Only above 10 peptide lengths were taken. As a result, we have got this many 10 epitopes. And these epitopes are also within the receptor binding domain of 319 to 540, something like that, within this range. So in this range, we have received around 10 epitopes. Next. And again, in this 10 epitopes, this is what previous slide. Please go to the previous slide, madam. So here, the most important thing that all of the youngsters have to get to know is, in Andhra Pradesh, the HLA haplotype is A01. A01. That is HLA with. Please go to the previous slide, madam. Yes, sir. Please go to the previous slide. Yeah, see HLA A1, that's all. Next slide, madam. Next slide, madam. Yeah, here I wanted you all to get to know, whomsoever wants to have to design the vaccine for any of the virus or protozoans or even the bacteria. You all have to remember about the HLAs. So HLA is what is it called? The genes which are present on the cell membrane, and those genes are located on chromosome 6 in human beings, and HLA1 is having HLA A, B, C, E, F, G, and particularly HLA B is having DP, DQ, DR, DM. So like that, there are several things in this located. Ma, screen poindama. Venkateslu.
Yeah, so that's what this is the South Indian population, particularly in Andhra Pradesh, is having this type of the HLA haplotypes. And another important thing I wish to let you know is haplotypes means this gets inherited as it is to the offsprings. So that's what this one. So now this our epitope has to bind to this HLA protein. So that's what we are focusing on this HLA without taking into consideration of this HLA. Without taking into consideration of this HLA, we cannot go for designing in silico vaccine construct. Okay, next slide, madam. Divya, madam, next slide, madam. Kuch.
This slide?
Yeah, that's fine. The slide is fine. Next slide. Yeah, this is the predicted epitopes. That's what these are all the epitopes that have been predicted, and it is again done in IEDB, immune epitope database analysis. So these many 10 epitopes have been predicted. These epitopes are having the interconnectivity. Interconnectivity means they are all sharing the epitopes. So that's what most interesting feature that we have found out through this IEDB. Next one is the structure based. Next slide, madam. Structure based. Next, structure based identification of the epitopes. Hitherto we have been seeing on the sequence based, that is protein sequence based. Now the structure based identification of the epitopes we are evaluating. Next slide, madam. So in the structure-based evaluation, protein-protein interaction of the vaccine construct has to be done. Once we develop the vaccine construct, okay, vaccine, it's not the virus. Here now vaccine construct we are doing. This vaccine construct directly cannot go to the B cell to produce the antibodies. This vaccine construct to begin with binds to the TLR, toll-like receptors. So these are all there in the immunological concept, which I was not able to explain because of the lack of the time. So here TLRs, chain A is the TLR, toll-like receptor. That means whenever any antigen gets into our system, toll-like receptors are the first ones which will identify them and make them to endocytose. So the protein, the vaccine construct is nothing but an antigen that needs to be interacted with this. Otherwise, this vaccine construct is ignored. So that is what the first aspect that has been done here. This next slide means. Next slide, madam.
Yes, sir.
So here the vaccine construct once we made, because it is an antigen, it is a protein, we have to evaluate the secondary structure. And this is a Cypred, what is it called, software tool, wherein the helix and again the coil and again this beta pleated sheets have been gone through in this. And apart from the solubility of this second, that is this protein need to be soluble. So the solubility test was also done in the protein sol software tools. Next slide, madam. So the Ramchandran plot. So we are all happy to have that one of our predecessor, G.N. Ramchandran sir, has done wonderful work, and this has been there all over the globe now. Whomsoever has to describe the protein structure without mentioning the Ramchandran plot, no one can explain this protein structure. Here also the residues which are present are in the favorable regions that are shown here. Next slide, madam. So this is what allergy. Whenever we construct any vaccine, so there are several tools to evaluate the toxicity, allergenicity, and again solubility. This is what allergenicity of the anti-vaccine construct. So after having submitted the sequence of this to this particular software, it has given the what is it called results that probably this is non-allergen. Next slide means. So this is one of the interesting software tools called the SnapGene. Okay, so in this SnapGene, we can do all simulation studies. Once we are through in the simulation studies, we can get into the in vitro studies. So in this SnapGene, there are several resources of plasmids like PUC18, PUC19, PET28 like this, and PBR322. So here in this particular example, you have taken the PET28A. In this is called multiple cloning site. In this multiple cloning site, our vaccine construct gene can be inserted. And once this is instructed, we can get this construct made and we can cultivate in our E. coli cells or yeast cells so that we can produce the vaccine in vitro. That's what we are planning to do at our Vignan University. Next slide, madam. So this is again, as I was mentioning to you, it's an awesome tool that is CIMSIM. Once this protein construct is given, just the protein construct means the sequence of the protein that we made that is given. The CIMSIM gives varieties of what is it called, the responses. One of the wonderful responses is active T cells. That is, whenever we are infected, the T cells are getting more in number, recruited more. That is shown. Even the duplicate cells are also getting duplicated. That is also shown here. So that's what the most interesting phenomenon that we observe in CIMSIM. Next slide, means, madam. So this is again another interesting thing is possible memory, B memory cells. That is, the vaccine is given and we are taking the vaccine primarily because we develop memory against the virus. We develop memory against the antigen. That's what here, if you take up the B memory cells, this is the B memory cells. B memory cells are increasing gradually. Okay, so they're there, the B memory cells are there till 200, even the days of infection also it shows. So till 200 days, the B memory cells will be there. This is all simulation studies. It's not the real in vivo studies, simulation studies. In the simulation studies, we are thorough with regard to this particular vaccine construct. And with this, we can presume that this vaccine construct will work. Once it gets work, then we can cultivate this in E. coli and see that we can get the vaccine construct and inject into the local, what is this called, the laboratory organisms and find out. Next slide, madam. So this is again another interesting thing called IgM, IgG levels. This is what rapid blood test our people are doing in the hospitals. And even IgM is a pentamer, IgG is a monomer. The levels of these two also is evaluated through CIMSIM after having given our gene construct, vaccine construct to this. Here, if you go through, this is what the IgM levels are increasing, and IgG levels are also shown an increase in this simultaneously. Next slide, madam. So as a result, in CIMSIM, we are seeing the T cell response, we are seeing the B cell memory response, and also we are seeing the IgM, IgG levels in the blood. And apart from that, this is what the interleukin storm. Interleukins are, once the vaccine is given, there is a good disturbance with regard to the interleukin development, because this vaccine construct is from the viral amino acid sequence. Okay, from the viral amino acid sequence, the viral cytokine, antiviral cytokine, please see here, antiviral cytokine called interferon gamma. Interferon gamma is at its high spike. Okay, so that's what this again, another interesting feature that we have predicted through CIMSIM, that interferon gamma is enhanced because of this vaccine construct injection. And apart from that, IL-2 levels are also increased. That's what CIMSIM shows. IL-2 level increases means it makes our immune cells, immune competent cells and immune auxiliary cells to get more recruited into the system. Next slide, next slide, madam. So like this, we have done the prediction of the T cell epitopes through this. That's once the vaccine goes inside the cell, the vaccine is nothing but a protein. This is getting cleaved. And the cleaved protein in the proteasome, that is protein mill, it passes through this transporter-aided protein. And after having passed through the transporter-aided protein, it get anchored to MSC molecules or HLA molecules. That's what here shown in this big table. Next slide, next slide, madam. So ultimately, the T cell epitopes using this immunogenicity prediction server, we predicted this 7, and out of this, their length is shown, the score is shown. Next slide, madam. Next slide, madam. So here, helper T cell epitopes for spike glycoproteins. All through we are doing only the spike glycoprotein, and here we are also, earlier I have shown you the HLA molecule 1. Here HLA molecule 2. HLA molecule 2 is having DR, DP, DQ, DM. So here DR is varying. That's what we have taken this one. This is within the, what is it called, receptor binding protein. This are all the various peptides that is predicted out of this construct, and they're all antigenic. Antigenic means they elicit immune response, the host. Elicit immune response in the host means the immune response is kept in memory, so that for the future infection also, we are able to resist the viral penetration. Next slide, means, madam. Next slide, madam. So these are all the epitopes that we have done through these servers, toxin spread servers. Toxicity, particularly the toxicity is predicted. There is no toxicity that is reported by the server. Okay, next slide. So the final selection of this helper T cell epitopes, that is helper. Why we are mentioning here is helper T cell epitopes means once an antigen goes in, the dendritic cell takes this antigen through the TLR, that is toll-like receptors. Then dendritic cell presents this antigen to the T helper cells. So that's what T helper cell epitopes. Our antigen need to be, our epitopes need to be bound to that. That's what the interest feature here. Next slide, means. Next slide, madam. So ultimate conclusion is evolutionary divergence among the sequences of coronavirus revealed that coronaviruses are diverse and adapted to their respective host.